Rarely have we seen a takedown of a league commissioner as calmly or efficiently delivered. The fact that it came from Nafisa Collier, one of the league's best players and most respected voices, only amplified its impact.
We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world. With those words, WNBA superstar Nafisa Collier didn't just voice a complaint. She launched a full-blown rebellion against her own Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. This wasn't a heated post-game rant. It was a calculated, prepared statement from one of the league's top players, and it sent shockwaves through the entire sports world. At the absolute peak of its popularity, thanks to the Caitlyn Clark phenomenon, the WNBA is now engulfed in a civil war. The players are at war with their own leadership, and it all begs one massive question: how did the league's golden age get sabotaged from the inside?
The response from WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert came in the form of a statement, which is itself a statement, but not one Engelbert should aspire to make. When a star player says directly, "We have the worst leadership in the world and you are the leader," your response that you're disheartened, that your perspectives differ, makes me wonder if you heard what Fee said. Because it's not differing perspectives. It was a direct call for your job.
The fuse was lit by Nafisa Collier, one of the league's brightest stars and a vice president of the Players Union. In a stunning end-of-season press conference, Collier didn't just answer questions. She came with a prepared statement, a 4-minute indictment of the league's front office. With a fracture boot on her leg, she hobbled to the podium and delivered a line that sent shockwaves through the entire sport. She said, "We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world." It wasn't a complaint. It was a declaration of war.
Collier said, "I've earned this platform," which she has, and said, "I don't care what the fine is," which, if I hear her correctly, is to say you have nothing to threaten me with. The chorus of voices of current stars in the WNBA, which echo Collier's sentiment, didn't have a single opposing voice.
But Collier didn't stop there. She revealed the details of a private conversation that exposed a shocking level of disconnect at the very top. She alleged that Commissioner Engelbert suggested the phenomenal Caitlyn Clark, a player single-handedly rewriting the league's fortunes, should be grateful for the WNBA platform because without it, she wouldn't be making her millions in endorsements. As if that wasn't enough, Collier added another jaw-dropping quote, claiming Engelbert told her that players should be on their knees, thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. The comments portrayed a leader who saw her players not as partners, but as subjects who should be thankful for whatever they were given.
As for what Engelbert is alleged to have said to Collier, if she actually suggested Caitlyn Clark should be grateful for what she makes off the court, that's preposterous. Did you miss the Iowa years? Clark is the Tiger Woods tide that lifts all boats, and we know this show is proof. The highest rating we have ever had followed one of her games at Iowa. The WNBA has benefited from her presence more than the other way around, even though this year for Caitlyn Clark was essentially lost.
On his show, Scott Van Pelt heard this and surgically took it apart. He called the suggestion that Clark owed her success to the league preposterous. He asked, "Did you miss the Iowa years?" before delivering the single most accurate analysis of the situation. He called Clark the Tiger Woods tide that lifts all boats, a force of nature whose gravity pulls the entire sport into a higher orbit, and he came with receipts. Van Pelt pointed out that his own show, Sports Center, had its highest rating in history following one of Caitlyn Clark's college games at Iowa. The proof was undeniable. Clark didn't need the WNBA's platform. The WNBA was desperately benefiting from hers.
Post from Delle Donne on Instagram, who said, and I quote, "It's the care for the human part for me. I'm not sure Cathy knows I've retired. Heard from everyone but her." And I don't like to pile on, that's not my thing. But when a player is beloved, respected, and decorated as Delle Donne retires as a multiple MVP, league champion, 7-time All-Star, and member of the W25, which celebrated the top 25 players in the league's first 25 years, you throw that woman a parade. To fail even the most basic and decent things to do, which is to reach out to say thanks, which, by the way, couldn't be easier to do, is to fail the most basic.
Just as the fallout from the Clark comments began to settle, the controversy found a new, more emotional front. Delle Donne, a two-time MVP, a champion, and one of the 25 greatest players in league history, dropped a bombshell of her own. After her recent retirement, she took to Instagram with a quiet, devastating post. It read, "I'm still not sure if Cathy knows I retired, heard from everyone but her." In one sentence, she exposed a stunning lack of basic human decency. Forgetting to acknowledge the retirement of a cornerstone legend isn't just a professional oversight. It's a sign of a deep, personal disconnect from the very people who built the league. As Van Pelt put it, when a player that decorated retires, you throw that woman a parade. The league, it seemed, couldn't even be bothered to send a text.
According to Sportico, franchise valuations have soared. Players want more money, and the CBA expires at the end of this month. This was a whole lot more than just a shot across the bow. The WNBA Finals begin this Friday, and we typically hear from Adam Silver on the eve of the NBA Finals. Cathy Engelbert has got to do more than say she's...
Faced with a full-blown rebellion, the commissioner's office finally responded. But instead of a direct, accountable address, Cathy Engelbert issued a statement saying she was disheartened by how the players characterized their conversations. It was a masterclass in corporate non-apology, a bland, sterile press release that completely missed the point. She talked about differing perspectives, but the players were talking about a fundamental lack of respect. While Engelbert later denied making the specific remarks about Caitlyn Clark, her initial response only added fuel to the fire, confirming the players' belief that the leadership was tone-deaf and dismissive. Napheesa Collier's words didn't just create a spark, they opened the floodgates. Her public stand gave others the courage to speak out, and suddenly, a chorus of voices rose up in support. Indiana Fever guard Lexi Hull stated bluntly, "I think I agree with everything she said." Her teammate Sophie Cunningham went even further, blasting Engelbert in an Instagram comment as the most delusional leader our league has seen. The support wasn't just from a few players. Stars like Angel Reese and Derica Hamby echoed the sentiment online. It became clear this wasn't one player's grievance. It was the collective voice of a league that had reached its breaking point. The discontent wasn't limited to the players on the court. It had been simmering for years among the coaches on the sidelines. Respected figures like Minnesota's Cheryl Reeve and Las Vegas's Becky Hammon have repeatedly been hit with hefty fines for doing what their job requires, speaking honestly about the state of the game. Their criticisms, particularly around the league's abysmal officiating, were often met not with dialogue, but with punishment. This created a culture of fear, where coaches felt they had to choose between speaking the truth and protecting their wallets. Engelbert was effectively silencing some of the best basketball minds in the world. The officiating has become more than just a point of contention. It's a full-blown crisis undermining the integrity of the game itself. The issue perfectly illustrates the dismissive attitude that players have faced. In her statement, Collier revealed another damning detail from her private conversations with the commissioner. When she brought up the players' deep concerns about the refs, Engelbert allegedly retorted, "Only the losers complain about the refs." The comment was a slap in the face, reducing legitimate concerns about player safety and game quality to sour grapes. It showed a fundamental misunderstanding of the issues plaguing the product on the floor. At the center of this storm is Caitlyn Clark, the golden goose the league seems determined to fumble. While the commissioner was allegedly downplaying her value, the numbers told a different story. The Caitlyn Clark effect is not a myth. It's a verifiable economic phenomenon. Her presence has led to a tripling of national viewership, a more than 200% surge in merchandise sales, and record-breaking attendance in arenas across the country. One analyst even determined that Clark was directly responsible for over 25% of the league's entire revenue in her rookie season. In this context, Engelbert's alleged comments weren't just insulting, they represented a catastrophic failure to understand the most valuable asset in her league's history. This public explosion is not happening in a vacuum. It is all set against the high-stakes backdrop of the league's expiring collective bargaining agreement, or CBA. With negotiations for a new deal happening right now, the timing of this player revolt is no coincidence. The players aren't just airing grievances, they are seizing leverage. They are sending a clear and unified message to the ownership and the league office. The days of being underpaid, undervalued, and told to be grateful are over. This is a power play, a shot across the bow before the most important negotiation in the WNBA's history. The stakes have never been higher. The WNBA is in the middle of a historic boom. Franchise valuations are skyrocketing, with expansion fees pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the league. A new massive media rights deal is set to bring in billions more. This should be the WNBA's golden era, a time of unprecedented growth and celebration. Instead, the league is at a flashpoint, a civil war between the players who generate the value and a commissioner who seems incapable of acknowledging it. It's a picture of a league with a billion-dollar future being sabotaged by internal conflict. Perhaps the most telling piece of evidence in this entire saga is not what has been said, but what hasn't. In the days following Collier's statement, a deafening silence has come from one side of the conflict. Not a single active player, not one respected coach, not one team executive has stepped forward to publicly defend Cathy Engelbert. Her only support has come from her own press releases. This total lack of public backing speaks volumes, painting a portrait of a leader completely isolated from the people she is supposed to be leading. Looming over this entire crisis is the shadow of one-man NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. The WNBA doesn't operate in a bubble. It is financially and structurally intertwined with the NBA. Silver's influence is immense, and he has a vested interest in protecting the NBA's investment and ensuring the WNBA thrives. With players in open rebellion, one has to wonder how long Silver will allow this public relations disaster to continue before he decides to intervene and make a change. This isn't the first time Engelbert's leadership has been criticized as being out of touch. In the recent past, players and the union have publicly called her out for what they felt was a weak and inadequate response to the racist and misogynistic online abuse directed at players. That incident, like the current crisis, painted a picture of a leader who struggled to connect with the human element of her league and failed to grasp the real-world issues her players were facing. It has become a troubling pattern of disconnect between the front office and the court. In the end, Scott Van Pelt summarized the situation with brutal simplicity. He said that when a player of Napheesa Collier's stature says, "We have the worst leadership in the world," that isn't just a differing perspective. As he put it, that's a direct call for your job. You cannot spin that. You cannot hide from it with a press release. The facts are devastating, from the ghosting of a legend like Delle Donne to the undeniable data of the Caitlyn Clark effect. The evidence paints a clear picture of a leadership crisis at the worst possible moment. This wasn't just about money or respect. It was becoming a matter of survival. The league's hands-off approach to officiating has turned games into grueling physical battles, and the body count is rising. Star players are being sidelined with injuries at an alarming rate, their bodies breaking down under the strain of a brutal schedule combined with on-court physicality that often goes unchecked. This isn't just bad luck, it's a direct consequence of leadership failing its most fundamental duty, protecting its players. The rebellion is being fueled by the fear that a career in the WNBA could be needlessly cut short. The commissioner's alleged demand for gratitude was tied directly to the league's media rights deal, but as players and analysts looked closer, they began to ask a terrifying question: did Engelbert actually undersell the league? The current deal was negotiated just before the Caitlyn Clark explosion sent ratings into the stratosphere. Now many believe the league is locked into a contract worth a fraction of its actual value. Players feel they are the ones creating this unprecedented boom, yet they are stuck with the consequences of a deal that failed to anticipate it, a deal they are now being told to be grateful for. At its core, this conflict is a clash of cultures. On one side is Cathy Engelbert, a leader with a traditional corporate top-down mindset. On the other is a new generation of empowered athletes. Players like Caitlyn Clark, Angel Reese, and Napheesa Collier are not just employees, they are brands, media entities, and cultural forces in their own right. They are digitally savvy, socially conscious, and unwilling to blindly accept the old hierarchy. The commissioner's failure to understand this new paradigm that the league needs its stars more than the stars need the league is at the heart of the entire crisis. For decades, WNBA players have supplemented their modest incomes by playing overseas in the off-season. But now, that escape hatch is looking more like a permanent exit. As players feel increasingly disrespected, underpaid, and physically endangered in the WNBA, the lucrative and often more professionally stable leagues in Europe and Asia become far more appealing. The unspoken threat is no longer just a strike, it's a talent exodus. If the league doesn't fix its leadership problem, it risks seeing its biggest stars choose to take their talents elsewhere permanently. A modern sports commissioner has to answer to the owners, the players, and the fans, and Cathy Engelbert has lost them all. The public's reaction to this crisis has been swift and decisive. Across social media, on sports talk radio, and in online forums, the consensus is clear. The fans are siding with the players. The narrative is set, and Engelbert has been cast as the out-of-touch villain. While the league is booming, its expansion process has been a case study in chaos, further exposing the leadership shortcomings. Potential ownership groups in promising cities like Portland and Denver have been left in limbo, with reports of poor communication and shifting goalposts coming from the league office. Instead of a triumphant march into new markets, the process has been marred by confusion and frustration. It paints a picture of a league that can't even get its own growth strategy right, fumbling golden opportunities to build on its newfound momentum. For years, the league's biggest stars flew commercial, a logistical nightmare, and a security risk that players had begged the league to address. The official line was always that it was too expensive, but that excuse crumbled under the weight of hypocrisy. The league made exceptions for certain games or teams, creating a two-tiered system of travel. It took a horrifying public incident where Brittany Griner was harassed at an airport for the league to finally, reluctantly, implement a full charter program. It was another example of reactive, not proactive, leadership. A problem only gets solved after it becomes a public relations disaster. The failure to understand Caitlyn Clark's value was not an isolated incident. It's a symptom of a much larger marketing disease. The WNBA is filled with compelling personalities, intense rivalries, and incredible stories that go completely untold. The league has consistently failed to market its diverse array of stars, seemingly incapable of building narratives that hook casual fans. Instead of creating superhero-style hype around players like Aja Wilson or Brianna Stewart, the league's marketing feels generic and corporate, proving that the front office simply doesn't know how to sell the incredible product it has on the floor. Beneath the surface of the larger controversies is a culture of petty punishment. The league office has become notorious for levying absurdly high fines for minor infractions. Players have been docked thousands of dollars for uniform violations, like wearing the wrong color socks, or for simply speaking their minds about the officiating. This fining frenzy creates a hostile environment, treating the players not as partners, but as misbehaving children. It reveals a thin-skinned leadership more concerned with absolute control than with allowing its players to have a voice. The seeds of this rebellion were planted long ago, watered in the WNBA's 2020 Wubble season. During that time, the players led the sports world in social justice advocacy, dedicating their season to causes like the Say Her Name campaign. But many players felt the league's support was performative. They felt the front office co-opted their activism for marketing purposes without committing to meaningful, long-term change. This created a deep-seated distrust, a feeling that the league would happily use the players' passion for its own gain without truly having their backs. That ghost of mistrust now haunts the negotiating table. But make no mistake, this is not a chaotic uprising. This is a strategic move orchestrated by one of the strongest and most unified player unions in all of professional sports. For years, the WNBPA has been a formidable force, securing landmark deals and consistently outmaneuvering the league office. This public pressure campaign is not just venting, it's a calculated tactic by a savvy, organized collective that knows its power. The players aren't just angry, they are united, and they are using that unity as their ultimate weapon in the battle for the future of their league. As if the league needed another self-inflicted wound, it stumbled into an Olympic-sized blunder. The decision to leave Caitlyn Clark off the U.S. Olympic basketball team was seen by millions as the ultimate act of gatekeeping and a catastrophic marketing failure. While not Engelbert's direct decision, the controversy fell squarely on her league's doorstep. It was a golden opportunity to launch the WNBA's biggest star onto a global stage, and instead, The moment was defined by petty squabbles and short-sighted politics. It reinforced the narrative of a league that simply doesn't understand the tidal wave of momentum it has and is actively working against its own best interests. The leadership's disconnect is creating a painful generational divide, alienating both the past and the future. On one hand, you have legends like Delle Donne, pioneers who built the league, being utterly ignored upon their retirement. They are being treated like forgotten relics. On the other hand, you have the new generation, the social media savvy superstars like Clark and Reese, who are being treated with suspicion and told they should be grateful to be there. This leadership has managed the impossible. It has angered the women who laid the foundation and the women who are building the future, leaving a fractured league with no sense of shared history or purpose. The most cynical part of the commissioner's defense is how she weaponizes the league's own success against the players. In every interview, Cathy Engelbert points to soaring franchise values, rising TV ratings, and increased revenue as proof that her leadership is working. But the players see this as the ultimate gaslighting. They know that this boom is happening in spite of the leadership, not because of it. It's their talent, their personalities, and the Caitlyn Clark effect that are driving the numbers. Engelbert is taking credit for a fire she didn't start, using the players' own success as a shield to deflect from their legitimate criticisms. The WNBA is at a crossroads. It is more popular, more valuable, and more culturally relevant than ever before. But it is a house divided, a league experiencing a golden age while being torn apart by a rebellion from within. This is no longer just about a few ill-advised comments. It's about a flawed media deal, a player safety crisis, a fundamental culture clash, the looming threat of a talent drain, and a complete loss of public faith. The moment of truth has arrived, and it leaves one final, burning question. Can the league capitalize on this historic momentum with its current leadership, or has the trust been so thoroughly broken that a change at the very top is the only path forward?